My name is Alexander Grant, and I was a man of science. A geophysicist. A man who believed in data, in numbers, in the cold certainty of the world beneath our feet. I spent years studying the frozen wastelands of Antarctica, chasing seismic shifts, analyzing the deep whispers of the earth, and scoffing at the so-called mysteries buried beneath the ice. Lost civilizations. Conspiracies. Ancient secrets. Nonsense. At least, that's what I thought, until February 12, 2025. That was the day I died. It was supposed to be just another expedition, another day collecting readings and logging data. We had been tracking anomalies, electromagnetic signals rising from deep within the ice, pulsing in erratic patterns, shifting in ways that defied logic. At first, we assumed it was some kind of natural phenomenon, tectonic activity, a magnetic disturbance. But the deeper we investigated, the stranger the signals became. They weren't random. They had structure. Something, or someone was sending them. That morning, the air was sharp, the sky a pale, endless gray. The wind howled across the ice, and every breath felt like inhaling glass. My team and I set up camp over the strongest signal yet, miles away from any recorded research station, standing over ice that had been untouched for millennia. Our instruments went haywire. Readings spiked. Something was moving beneath us. And then, without warning, the ice cracked. I had no time to react. 1 second, I was standing on solid ground, the next, the world collapsed beneath me. I felt my body plummet, swallowed by darkness, my screams lost in the roar of crumbling ice. The last thing I heard was my team shouting my name, their voices fading as I fell. Then, silence. A deep, unnatural silence. And in that silence, I realized something chilling. I wasn't alone. I should have never come here. None of us should have. Because what we were chasing wasn't just a signal. It was a warning. The morning was eerily quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that doesn't just settle, it lingers, thick and oppressive, like the weight of an unseen presence. I shook off the unease creeping up my spine, chalking it up to exhaustion. Weeks of harsh conditions, relentless cold, and frustratingly inconclusive readings had taken their toll. Still, I had a job to do. We moved quickly, setting up our equipment, drilling deeper into the ice than ever before. The deeper we went, the stranger things became. First, our instruments started failing, then, the world itself seemed to shift. GPS signals flickered in and out, refusing to lock onto our coordinates. The radios, clear just moments before, descended into eerie static, laced with something unnatural. A whisper. A voice just beyond recognition. And then, the air changed. I don't know how to describe it, heavier, charged, alive in a way that defied logic. Every breath felt electric, every movement unnatural. The others felt it too. I could see it in the way they hesitated, in the tension gripping their bodies. No one said it, but we were all thinking the same thing. Something was watching. At precisely 11:42 a.m., disaster struck. The ice beneath me didn't just crack, it collapsed. A deep, guttural sound, like the earth itself was groaning in protest. There was no time to react. 1 second, I was standing on solid ground. The next, I was falling, swallowed whole by the abyss below. The world spiraled into darkness. The cold bit into my flesh, the wind howled around me, and my own screams were lost to the void. Weightless. Helpless. Falling into nothingness. The last thing I heard before blacking out was the frantic voices of my team crackling through the radio, calling my name. Screaming for me. But I was already gone. I woke up, but I wasn't in my body. I hovered above, looking down at my own lifeless form, broken, partially buried beneath the shattered ice. A sight no living person should ever witness. My arms were limp, my face pale, my breath non-existent. I was dead. But that wasn't the worst part. No, the worst part was what stood at the edge of the abyss. Figures. Glowing figures, tall, luminous, neither flesh nor machine, yet exuding a presence so overwhelming, so impossibly ancient, that I felt as insignificant as a grain of sand before them. They didn't move. They didn't speak. They simply watched. An undeniable authority radiated from them, not hostile, not welcoming, just absolute. Then, I felt it. A force, powerful, unseen, undeniable, pulling me upward. Light engulfed me. But this wasn't normal light. It was alive. It pulsed, it breathed, it knew me. It saw every part of me, every thought, every failure, every doubt I had ever carried. And then, I heard the voice. Deep. Powerful. Endless. Yet, gentle. Martin. The moment he spoke my name, I knew. No one had to tell me. No one had to explain. I knew who he was. Jesus. I turned, and there he stood. The mere sight of him unraveled everything I thought I knew about existence. His presence was beyond physical, beyond any concept my mind could grasp. He wasn't just real, he was more real than anything I had ever known. My heart clenched as I felt the weight of my skepticism crumble. All the years I had spent dismissing faith, clinging to science as the only truth, all of it now seemed so small. So blind. Tears burned in my eyes. I wanted to speak, to ask questions, but my voice failed me. It wasn't fear that paralyzed me, it was understanding. A raw, undeniable realization that I was standing before something, someone, who had been with me all along, even when I refused to believe. You have been brought here for a reason, he said. His voice wasn't just heard, it was felt. It resonated through my very being, deeper than sound, deeper than thought. What you are about to see must be shared. The moment he spoke those words, the world around us shifted. I was no longer in the icy abyss of Antarctica. The frozen wasteland had vanished, replaced by something impossible. The ground beneath my feet wasn't ice, not in the way I had always known it. It pulsed with an energy, alive, ancient, and knowing. It recognized me. It studied me. And before me, they rose. Towering walls of ice, stretching so high they seemed to touch the heavens. But these were no natural formations. They were placed. Built with intent. Jesus stood beside me, his eyes heavy with sorrow. These walls were placed here for a reason, he said, the weight of his words pressing into my soul. And soon, mankind will seek to break them. A deep sense of dread unfurled inside me. I had spent my life drilling into ice, exploring the unknown, believing that knowledge was the highest pursuit of humanity. But now, I stood before something I was never meant to see. I stared at the walls, and in an instant, my mind opened. Visions poured into me, faster than thought, clearer than memory. I saw what lay beneath the ice. Vast structures, impossibly large, breathtakingly intricate. Cities. Fortresses. Monuments built long before recorded history, buried beneath time itself. At the center of it all, something sealed away. Something that should never be disturbed. And mankind was coming for it. I saw them, scientists, governments, powerful men who believed they were uncovering history, unlocking the secrets of the past. I saw their drilling machines, their relentless hunger for discovery, their ignorance of what they were truly awakening. They didn't know. They didn't understand. This was not a place to be explored. This was a prison. A divine seal placed over something far older than human civilization. And we, my team, my colleagues, the entire world, were on the verge of breaking it. I turned back to Jesus, my breath coming in shallow gasps. What is it? I whispered. What's buried beneath the ice? His gaze pierced through me, filled with both sorrow and urgency. Something that was locked away for a reason. My chest tightened. I saw more flashes, memories of a time before man, of beings beyond human comprehension, of a war not fought in flesh but in realms unseen. The seal was not meant to last forever. And now, it was failing. Jesus looked at me, and I felt his next words as much as I heard them. You must stop them. The vision collapsed, the world shattered, and I was falling once again. Falling back into the abyss. The visions did not stop. I was no longer just seeing, I was experiencing. The future unfolded before me, not like a dream, but like a reality I had yet to live. Every sound, every image, every whispered word burned into my soul like a brand. I wanted to look away, to shut my mind against the terrible things I was being shown, but I couldn't. Because this was the truth. Humanity was on the brink of something catastrophic. Jesus stood beside me, his presence the only thing keeping me from collapsing under the weight of what I was witnessing. He lifted his hand, and time itself seemed to bend, revealing a future that would soon come to pass. I saw a world consumed by excitement. The news was everywhere. Breakthrough discovery beneath the ice. Proof of ancient intelligent civilization found. Scientists confirm we were never alone. The headlines flashed before me, spreading like wildfire. The world rejoiced. Social media erupted in debates, theories, and celebrations. Leaders from every nation gathered in urgent summits, speaking not of war, not of division, but of unity, a new world order, born from the ashes of what we thought we knew. It was intoxicating. It was a lie. Jesus' voice cut through the vision, calm but filled with sorrow. The enemy's greatest weapon is deception. Suddenly, I was inside a grand hall. I saw world leaders standing before massive crowds, their voices filled with hope, their words laced with a promise too grand to resist. This is the dawn of a new age. Humanity is evolving. The truth has been hidden for too long. Now, we embrace it together. The people cheered. I turned and saw religious leaders, men and women who had once preached the word of God. Some stood firm, their eyes filled with warning, but others, many others, had joined the movement. They stood before their congregations, smiling, arms open wide. God is bigger than we ever imagined, they said. We must embrace the truth. I watched as churches split, as families divided. Some tried to warn the world, but their voices were drowned out, mocked, ridiculed, silenced. Then I saw them. At first, they appeared as saviors. Beings of great wisdom, cloaked in light, offering knowledge beyond our wildest dreams. They spoke of unity, of peace, of transcending the limitations of humanity. But something was wrong. Their smiles never reached their eyes. Their presence carried a weight, a pressure, an oppression, that most could not perceive. They will come as saviors, Jesus said, his voice steady. And many will welcome them with open arms. The vision shifted again. I saw people faced with a choice. It was subtle at first, a new way of thinking, a slight change in doctrine. Schools began teaching new origins, blending science with something otherworldly. History was rewritten. Those who accepted this enlightenment were celebrated. They were the future. The progressive thinkers. The ones who refused were cast aside, labeled as outdated, close-minded, dangerous. Then, the choice became more than just intellectual. It became spiritual. A separation was forming. The world had been given a new faith, a new system of belief, one that severed mankind from God himself. Those who embraced it did not realize what they were doing. They thought they were evolving, stepping into a higher plane of existence. But in reality, they were falling. The weight of what I was seeing crushed me. My legs gave out, and I fell to my knees. My mind screamed for answers. Why? I gasped. Why would they believe this? How could they not see? Jesus looked down at me, his eyes filled with infinite sorrow. Because they do not seek the truth. They seek what is easy. I choked back a sob. The world had been set up. Every discovery, every technological advancement, every slow, subtle shift in thinking, it had all been leading to this moment. And humanity had no idea what was truly happening. I turned to Jesus, desperation clawing at my chest. What can I do? His answer was both simple and terrifying. Tell them. The vision shattered. I was falling again, the images burned into my mind. The cheers, the deception, the ones who saw the truth but were too late. And as the darkness swallowed me once more, I knew, nothing would ever be the same again. The final revelation was the most chilling of them all. Everything I had seen so far, the deception, the false enlightenment, the rewriting of history, had been leading to this moment. This final step. The last choice humanity would ever make. And most would make it willingly. I saw the world as it would soon become, transformed beyond recognition. Technology had advanced at an impossible rate. Diseases that once plagued mankind were now curable. Genetic flaws, disabilities, and even aging itself had been defeated. Death was no longer inevitable. A new system had emerged, a global order that no longer relied on nations and borders. Instead, humanity had become one, unified under an unshakable belief that they had ascended beyond their primitive origins. But at what cost? I saw the price. Jesus stood beside me as I watched, his face heavy with sorrow. He lifted his hand, and once more, time folded, pulling me into the heart of the storm. The world was obsessed with a single discovery. An upgrade. A revolutionary advancement that promised to unlock the full potential of the human mind and body. No more sickness. No more weakness. No more limitations. It wasn't forced upon the people. It didn't have to be. It was offered freely, marketed as a gift to mankind. A choice wrapped in promise. Jesus' voice echoed in my soul. The mark will come not as a command, but as a choice. I watched in horror as governments, scientists, and even spiritual leaders embraced it. Celebrities, influencers, and world leaders took it first, displaying their enhanced abilities, stronger, healthier, faster, immortal. The world rejoiced. News anchors spoke of a new age. Medical journals praised the eradication of disease. Churches were divided. Some pastors stood in awe, calling it a miracle, a sign that mankind had truly evolved. Others recognized the truth, that this was no miracle, but the final deception. The ultimate severing from God. I saw the crowds, millions of people standing in lines, eager, desperate to receive this gift. They didn't understand. They didn't see what I saw. With every person who accepted it, something changed. At first, it was subtle, a shift in their demeanor, a loss of something intangible. But the more they took, the less human they became. I could see it in their eyes. A dimming of the light. A severing of the soul. And then, I saw the ones who refused. At first, they were ignored, dismissed as paranoid, as religious fanatics clinging to outdated beliefs. Then, they were ridiculed, mocked for rejecting the greatest advancement in human history. Then, they were hunted. Those who refused were cast out, unable to participate in the new world. They could not buy. They could not sell. They could not exist within society. They were outcasts. Rebels. Enemies. I saw a woman clutching her child, starving because she refused to take the mark. I saw a man who had once been powerful, reduced to nothing, begging on the streets. And I saw the ruthlessness of those who had accepted the system. They no longer showed mercy. They no longer remembered what it meant to be human. I turned to Jesus, my chest tightening in agony. Why are they doing this? His response was simple. Because they no longer belonged to me. A shiver ran through my soul. I understood now. The mark wasn't just a choice. It was a point of no return. Those who took it were not just upgrading their bodies, they were surrendering their very essence. Their free will. Their connection to the Creator Himself. And the worst part? They never even realized what they had lost. The vision faded, and I felt myself falling, spiraling back toward reality. But I knew, I would never be the same again. I had seen the end. And now, I had a choice of my own to make. The vision ended. Jesus placed His hand on my shoulder, and the warmth of His presence flooded through me. It was unlike anything I had ever felt, a power that could unravel mountains, yet a gentleness that could mend the most shattered soul. His eyes held no fear, no hesitation, only the weight of truth. It is time for you to return. I wanted to speak. I wanted to beg Him to let me stay, to give me more time to understand, to process all that I had seen. How could I possibly return to the world after this? How could I go back to the mundane, to the blindness of everyday life, when I had seen the end? But before I could utter a word, the world around me faded. The radiant presence of Christ dissolved into blinding white, and suddenly, I was falling, torn from eternity and thrown back into the world of the living. I gasped for air, my body lurching upright. The beeping of hospital monitors rang in my ears. Harsh fluorescent lights burned against my vision. My chest ached, every breath heavy, as if my soul had been wrenched from another realm and stuffed back into this fragile, mortal shell. The room was in chaos. Doctors stood around me, frozen in shock, their faces a mixture of awe and confusion. A nurse dropped her clipboard, her eyes wide with disbelief. I had been dead. 12 minutes. I could hear them murmuring, whispers of impossible things. One of them had checked my pulse. Another had declared the time of death. And yet, here I was. Alive. But my body was nothing compared to what had changed inside me. My mind was no longer my own. My heart carried the weight of eternity, the unbearable burden of knowledge that no human being was meant to possess. I had seen the truth. And now, I had a mission. The weeks that followed were hell. I tried to tell people, tried to warn them of what was coming. I spoke to my colleagues, to fellow scientists, to anyone who would listen. I told them about what I had seen, about the deception, about the mark, about the ancient prisons beneath the ice that were never meant to be opened. No one believed me. Not even the ones who had been there with me in Antarctica. They dismissed my testimony as hallucinations, a trauma response from the accident. They told me I was lucky to be alive but that my mind was still recovering. Even my closest friends, the ones I had trusted for years, looked at me with pity. I watched as the world moved on. As if nothing had happened. As if I had not just come back from the very edge of existence with a message that could save them. And then, the news broke. Reports from Antarctica began surfacing, strange anomalies, unexplained discoveries beneath the ice, whispers of something ancient being unearthed. The very things Jesus had shown me were beginning to unfold. But the world, they weren't afraid. They were excited. Governments held press conferences, boasting about breakthroughs that would change the course of history. Scientists spoke of an ancient civilization, one that predated humanity itself. Then came the whispers of something more, a discovery so profound, so world-altering, that it would soon be revealed to the public. The pieces were falling into place. The grand deception was beginning. And then, I got the call. A former government official, someone whose name I cannot reveal, reached out to me in the dead of night. His voice was cold, trembling, like a man who had seen too much. "You're not wrong, Martin." My breath hitched. But it's already too late. A chill ran through me, deep and unshakable. I had fought so hard to get the world to listen. I had come back from death itself to deliver this warning. And yet, the machine was already in motion. The lie had already taken root. It was too late. I clenched my fists, my pulse pounding in my ears. No. I refused to believe that. Maybe the world wouldn't listen. Maybe the deception had already begun. Maybe the storm was inevitable. But there were still those who could be saved. And as long as I had breath in my body, I would not be silent. Because if I had learned one thing from my journey beyond death, it was that the battle had only just begun. If you are reading this, it means the deception is already underway. You will soon hear news, announcements of discoveries so profound, so world-altering, that they will claim to rewrite the history of humanity. They will tell you that our past has been misunderstood. That what we believe about our origins, our faith, our very existence has been incomplete. Do not believe them. What lies beneath the Antarctic ice was never meant to be uncovered. The walls were placed there not to keep us out, but to keep something in. And now, the seals are breaking. I have spent every waking moment since my return trying to warn those who would listen. I have been called a liar, a fanatic, a man suffering from delusions. Scientists dismiss me. Governments ignore me. Even those closest to me refuse to hear the truth. But none of that changes what is coming. I have seen it. The deception will not come as an open attack. It will not arrive with threats and violence, not at first. It will come as a promise. A gift. An enlightenment. You will be told that the discoveries beneath the ice confirm what the ancients always knew. That humanity is part of something greater, something beyond God, something more powerful than the faith we have clung to for centuries. They will introduce a new way of thinking, one that claims to transcend all religions, all doctrines. They will speak of unity, of advancement, of a glorious future that is ours to claim. And the world will rejoice. But behind the curtain of celebration, a darker truth unfolds. I have seen the vision of what follows, the slow erosion of faith, the abandonment of the truth in favor of a false enlightenment. Those who embrace it will do so willingly, blind to what they are truly accepting. Churches will split. Some will resist, will speak out against the deception, but they will be ridiculed, cast aside, silenced. Others will embrace it, twisting scripture to fit the new narrative, calling it the fulfillment of prophecy rather than the corruption of truth. The world will be given a choice, to walk in this so-called new light, or to be left behind in the darkness. And those who refuse, they will find themselves cut off. Not just socially, not just economically, but spiritually. Because this is not just about knowledge. This is about control. And those who accept it will sever themselves from God forever. Jesus has shown me the truth. And now, I have shared it with you. I do not know how much time we have left before the full deception takes hold. But I do know this. The time of decision is coming. And when it does, you must be ready. The final call. If you are still reading, if your heart is stirring, if something inside of you is screaming that this is the truth, then know that you are being called. Do not fall for what is coming. Stay in prayer. Stay vigilant. Stay close to Jesus. Because this battle is not one of flesh and blood, but of forces beyond what human eyes can see. The deception will be beautiful. It will feel right. It will sound like the truth. But it is not. Those who cling to the Word of God will not be deceived. Those who stand firm in Christ will see through the illusion. But the time to prepare is now. Because the moment the world fully embraces the lie, there will be no turning back. This is my final warning. The time is now.